Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Summary study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Such a devotee as Srila Prabhupada. Incredible mercy of devotee like Srila Prabhupada. Inconceivable mercy. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, a little song from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya in the mood of separation from Krishna in the Madhya Lila as he's inaugurating his Sankirtan. Krishna, 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 Hare. Krishna, 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 Hare. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. This is chapter 18, the childhood pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. And this section is about killing the demons. And other miraculous accomplishments as a child. The demon in the form of a duck, the demon in the form of an ass, the demon who made believe he was a calf, all these different demons. The whirlwind demon. He's a child, and the demons have these forms. So this is the demon Pralambāsura. After extinguishing the devastating fire, after Krishna banished Kaliya from the Yamuna, the residents were exhausted and they all took rest on the bank of the Yamuna. And while they were resting, a great fire began. And everyone panicked. They were going to get burnt alive in this fire. And Krishna extinguished the fire. He swallowed up the fire. So, after extinguishing the devastating fire, Krishna, surrounded by his relatives, friends, cows, calves, and bulls, and glorified by their singing, again entered Vrindavan, which is always full of cows. While Krishna and Balaram were enjoying life in Vrindavan, in the midst of the cowherd boys and girls, the season gradually changed to summer. The summer season in India is not very much welcomed because of the excessive heat. But in Vrindavan, everyone was pleased because summer there appeared just like spring. This was possible only because Lord Krishna and Balaram, who are the controllers even of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, were residing there. In Vrindavan there are many falls which are always pouring water, and the sound is so sweet that it covers the sound of the crickets. And because water flows all over, the forest always looks very green and beautiful. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were never disturbed by the scorching heat of the sun or the high summer temperatures. The lakes of Vrindavan are surrounded by green grasses, and various kinds of lotus flowers bloom there, such as the big long Sanskrit word, lotus flower, Kanhara Kanjotpala. And the air blowing in Vrindavan carries the aromatic pollen of those lotus flowers. When the particles of water from the waves of the Yamuna, the lakes and the waterfalls, touched the bodies of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they automatically felt a cooling effect. Therefore, they were practically undisturbed by the summer season. Vrindavan is such a nice place. Flowers are always blooming, and there are even various kinds of decorated deer. Birds are chirping, peacocks are crowing and dancing, bees are humming. The cuckoos there sing nicely in 5 kinds of tunes. Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure, blowing his flute, accompanied by his elder brother Balaram and other cowherd boys and cows, entered the beautiful forest of Vrindavan to enjoy the atmosphere. They walked into the midst of newly grown leaves of trees whose flowers resembled peacock feathers. They were garlanded by those flowers and decorated with saffron chalk. Sometimes they were dancing and singing, and sometimes wrestling with one another. While Krishna danced, some of the cowherd boys sang, and others played on flutes. Some bugled on buffalo horns or clapped their hands, praising Krishna. Dear brother, you are dancing very nicely. Actually, all the boys were demigods, descended from higher planets, to assist Krishna in his pastimes. The demigods, garbed in the dress of the cowherd boys, were encouraging Krishna in his dancing, just as one artist encourages another with praise. Up to that time, neither Balaram nor Krishna had undergone hair-cutting ceremony. Therefore, their hair was clustered like crow's feathers. They were always playing hide and seek with their boyfriends, or jumping or fighting with one another. Sometimes, while his friends were chanting and dancing, Krishna would praise them. My dear friends, you are dancing and singing very nicely. The boys played at catching ball with bell-shaped fruits and round amalaki. They played blind man's bluff, challenging and touching one another. Sometimes they imitated the forest deer and various kinds of birds. They joked with one another by imitating croaking frogs, and they enjoyed swinging underneath the trees. Sometimes they would play like a king and his subjects among themselves. In this way, Krishna and Balaram, along with all their friends, played all kinds of sports and enjoyed the soothing atmosphere of Vrindavan, full of rivers, lakes, rivulets, fine trees, and excellent fruits and flowers. And that's a childhood, playing with your friends. What do you do with friends? You play. I actually have experience of that as a child. That's exactly how I grew up. There was a wooded area near where I lived, and the neighborhood children, we would all run and play. We would play games with Blind Man's Bluff, King of the Mountain, run and jump. We had our favorite places in the woods. Surrounded by the beauty of nature. I can really relate to these descriptions, having experienced it. Perverted reflection of it, of course, in my own childhood. Krishna. Once, while they were engaged in their transcendental pastimes, a great demon of the name Pralambāsura entered their company, desiring to kidnap both Balaram and Krishna. We didn't meet any demons, per se, until later. Sometimes someone would try to join in the group, and they would destroy the play. They couldn't tune in on our playing field, and they would enter. It was like a demon. Although Krishna was playing the part of a cowherd boy, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could understand everything, past, present, and future. So, when Pralambāsura entered their company, Krishna began to think how to kill the demon, but externally he received him as a friend. "Oh, my dear friend," he said, "it is very good that you have come to take part in our pastimes." Krishna then called all his friends and ordered them, "Now we shall play in pairs. We shall challenge one another in pairs." With this proposal, all the boys assembled together. Some of them took the side of Krishna, and some of them took the side of Balaram, and they arranged to play in duel. The defeated members in duel fighting had to carry the victorious members on their backs. They began playing, and at the same time tended cows as they proceeded through the Bandharavana forest. The party of Balaram, accompanied by Sridham and Vrishabha, came out victorious, and Krishna's party had to carry them on their backs through the Bandharavana forest. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, being defeated, had to carry Sridham on his back. Bhadrasena carried Vrishabha. Imitating their prey, Pralambāsura, who appeared there as a cowherd boy, carried Balaram on his back. Pralambāsura was the greatest of demons, and he had calculated that Krishna was the most powerful of the cowherd boys. In order to avoid the company of Krishna, Pralambāsura carried Balaram far away. The demon was undoubtedly very strong and powerful, but he was carrying Balaram, who was compared with a mountain. Therefore he began to feel the burden, and thus he assumed his real form. When he appeared in his real feature, he was decorated with a golden helmet and earrings, and looked just like a cloud with lightning carrying the moon. Balaram observed the demon's body expanding up to the limits of the clouds, his eyes dazzling like blazing fire, and his mouth flashing with sharpened teeth. At first, Balaram was surprised by the demon's appearance, and he began to wonder, how is it that all of a sudden his carrier has changed in every way? But with a clear mind, he could quickly understand he was being carried away from his friends by a demon who intended to kill him. Immediately, he struck the head of the demon with his strong fist, just as the king of the heavenly planets strikes a mountain with his thunderbolt. Being stricken by the fist of Balaram, the demon fell down dead, just as a snake with a smashed head, and blood poured from his mouth. When the demon fell, he made a tremendous sound, and it sounded as if a great hill were falling. A great hill were falling upon being struck by the thunderbolt of King Indra. All the boys then rushed to the spot. Being astonished by the ghastly scene, they began to praise Balaram with the words, "Well done, well done." All of them then began to embrace Balaram with great affection, thinking he had returned from death, and they offered their blessings and congratulations. All the demigods in the heavenly planets became very satisfied and showered flowers on the transcendental body of Balaram. They also offered their blessings and congratulations for his having killed the great demon Pralambāsura. That's in the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 18th chapter of Krishna, the killing of the demon Pralambāsura. Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna Chaitanya.